didn't even put the brakes on, dude. Good afternoon, lads and lasses, and welcome back to some Koality time. Are we on? We are, aren't we? Unlucky number 13. Oh goodness, Friday now as well. So, first things first, we are going to be doing a live stream here on YouTube this weekend, before switching over to Twitch, just like we did last month. So if you want to come check out what a koala stream is like, and you haven't before, then mark the time down. That'll be starting at about 10:30 PM UTC on Saturday. I also want to say before we get started properly with this video that our squadron kilts is now full. That filled up in just a couple of days actually. But if you do particularly want to see a second squadron made for you lads to join, if you didn't get to join the first, then just like last time, I've left a pinned comment, Coalition Forces reporting for duty. Leave a like or reply to the comment if you would join a second kilt squadron, should I make it. And now that we've got the plugin out of the way, it's time to talk about some news. Holy shit. Why is it that all the best stuff happens just after I upload one of these videos? I think within 2 days of my uploading my last Koality Time video, we got the announcement, well, I say announcement, tweet about Mixer shutting down. And less than a week after that, there was a whole thing going around about Instagram. Now, keep in mind, I spent half of last month's episode talking about why I don't like or trust Instagram anymore. But Instagram had actively refused to take down a video uploaded by a Chinese user that showed graphic content of dogs being skinned alive and beaten, and encouraged audiences to join a cult. I swear I am not making this shit up. Now, I made a point of calling out that the uploader was Chinese, and supposedly people have been saying this, that this is all part of a festival in China where they beat, skin and then eat dogs. And because it's a cultural, traditional thing, Instagram can't ban it, which is entirely incorrect, every word. See, this supposed festival, this cultural tradition, only takes place in one small, specific part of China. It's never gotten much support, and has only been going on since 2009. Yeah, that's their cultural tradition. And actually, most people in China, just like people anywhere else, turn their noses up at the idea of harming or eating dogs. Christ, they're Chinese, they're not Martians. Instagram was just not removing the video, and this is Instagram responding to reports, by the way, saying that they don't find the video to breach any terms of service, when it very clearly does in multiple ways. But they just want removing it because they're a terrible company, as I said in the last episode. If only I'd waited 2 days, we'd have had a lot more ammo. Now, I'm sure you've all heard about Mixer shutting down, but in case you haven't, or you just don't know what's going on, let me give you the rundown. Mixer is, or was, a streaming service set up and backed by Microsoft as a competitor to Twitch. And it was basically Twitch, but blue instead of purple. They came onto the scene pretty strongly after they paid streamers like Ninja and Shroud, two of the biggest streamers on Twitch, tens of millions of dollars to switch to streaming exclusively on Mixer. Now that guaranteed that Mixer was here to be taken seriously. They weren't just going to stay in obscurity and die off to the giant that is Twitch. Oh, hindsight is a cruel joke, isn't it? Loads of Twitch streamers then jumped over to Mixer, reasoning that, hey, it's new, so there are fewer streamers on the platform, I've got a better chance of making it big. The only thing is, Mixer, well, I don't know how many of you have been on Mixer, but it's a bit shit. And because of that, while all the streamers reasoned that there'd be less competition on Mixer, all of the viewers just didn't bother making Mixer accounts. Shroud and Ninja, when they switched platforms, lost about 60 to 70% of their viewers. And currently, looking right now at the time of making this video, there are fewer people watching the 4th most popular game on Mixer than there are people watching War Thunder streams on Twitch. And War Thunder is not a popular game to watch on Twitch, so that tells you something. Now that was absolutely fine for Shroud and Ninja to see a drop in viewer numbers, because they'd made enough money from the contract that they could afford to never work again after it was up. Pressure was off them at that point. All they had to do was keep doing what they were doing. But a newer, smaller platform needs to prioritise supporting newer, smaller users. And Mixer wasn't doing that. Nobody really thought that Mixer was going to last, I don't think. But a month ago, I don't know if any of us saw this coming. Even though Microsoft had paid out probably $100 million in total to various big streamers like Shroud and Ninja to stream exclusively on Mixer for a 3 to 4 year period to kind of up the user base of the platform, they gave up after 1 year, threw in the towel, and notified everybody via a tweet that we're shutting down next month. Goodbye. Hope you didn't put all your eggs in that basket. Of course, Shroud and Ninja don't have much to worry about, because all this meant for them was that the contract that was meant to pay them a certain amount for 4 years had paid them that amount for more like 6 months. Effectively, they just made off with about $36 million between them, plus the few million that they'd actually earned for being on Mixer for the first few months of the contract. Wow, they must have been laughing when they got that news. Mixer's service will end in about a week, and from then on, clicking a link to a Mixer streamer's page will take you over to Facebook Gaming instead. All the streamers who had partner status with Mixer will get the equivalent on Facebook Gaming. Right, Facebook Gaming. Let's take that seriously, shall we? Yeah, no. I assume that Shroud will come back to streaming on Twitch. Thanks for all the fish, Microsoft. Ninja, however, I doubt will come back to Twitch. It just wouldn't be a smart decision for him for various reasons, not to mention the salt he probably feels for the platform after the way they handled his departure. Basically, Twitch acted like the bitchy ex-girlfriend, removed the verified logo from his account, and then allowed porn to be streamed to it. Yeah, I'm still not making this up. In other news, I think the PC is just about done now. I can stop throwing all my money at it and actually save some up. I've talked about PC issues in a few of the previous podcasts. Basically, I was having overheating problems with my graphics card, and I think that's about fixed now. I ended up transplanting the entire rig into a new case, which has far better airflow than the old one, and I also bought a bunch of fans to go inside it. We've got 6 fans in the thing now, so temperatures have been pretty good. Well, normally pretty good. The graphics card's about 20 degrees cooler, which is a big deal. But one thing I did do is switch the radiator fan at the back of the machine from an intake to an exhaust fan, so instead of drawing air in through the back as well as from the front, and then exhausting all that out through the fans at the top, I've got the 3 front fans drawing air in, and they're the only ones. Then the single fan at the back is pushing air out through the radiator, while the top 2 fans are pushing air straight up out the top of the case. What that's meant though is that when the graphics card heats up, the CPU does too, because the fan is pushing hot air from inside the case, air that's come off the graphics card, onto the radiator. It's not fresh, cool air. So I may have to either get a larger radiator to go onto the front mounting so it's pulling air in, or just go back to air cooling for the CPU. And yes, I do realise I could just put the radiator, even though it's only a single 120mm sized radiator, onto one of the fans at the front, and just leave the other 2 blank, but I'm OCD. Yeah, no, that ain't gonna fly. That's all completely in the future stuff though, because what needed work on the PC is well and truly now done. I don't need anything else done to this machine. And she's a beast. And even when running both the CPU and graphics card, she keeps pretty cool and pretty quiet. I also went and upgraded from my hard drive, yes, I am a dinosaur who is still using spinning disk drives, to SSDs, and holy hell did that make the world of difference playing games like Star Citizen. I can actually run it now. And I instantly got rid of the vast majority of glitches and loading issues I was experiencing. What else? I upgraded my monitor from a 1080p 60Hz display to a bigger 1440p 144Hz one, and That has made a massive difference when playing War Thunder. I can't even stress how much easier it makes air battles. Lastly, I got myself a pair of wireless headphones, which have also been fantastic. Very, very happy with these. So I might have spent a lot of money on the PC in the last few months, but I am incredibly, incredibly happy with this setup now. I also want to start using new video editing software, which should improve quality noticeably, so you'll have that to look forward to as well. When I do that, we're also going to be looking at getting a new logo and whole design for the channel, kind of bring the look into a more professional, mature, prestigious look. And I'll have some big plans for content, one of which I want to let you lads know about right now. I've been tossing and turning with this decision, but I think it's time we split the content of this channel up into 2 different YouTube channels. One for Koala Explains and a couple of other real-life military history videos and projects I've got in that department. And then the other, which will be this one, focusing once again on War Thunder, some World of Warships, and other specifically gaming content. Now, this channel will be staying as what it started out as. I'm not going to be playing Minecraft or Fortnite, so don't worry about things changing all of a sudden. What's going to happen is that we might branch out into a couple of other games, but they are like DCS is one. I've been meaning to make a World of Tanks video for over a year now and I've just never gotten around to it. But those styles of games that match up with what this channel's always been. Primarily, this channel isn't going to change. It'll go back to being a War Thunder focused channel, talking about War Thunder from a game perspective, rather than trying to combine history content and then make videos like this or this, because they don't really fit together, yet I still want to make both of them. One of the original inspirations for this channel was a series of videos by the Orange Doom called War Thunder's Longest Matches. This is back before Orange quit the game and then came back and started just being all edgy and controversial and throwing up content without much effort just for the fuck of it. Back then, I really liked Orange's channel, and these videos, along with a couple of others like his tutorial on using manual engine controls and his reviews of different vehicles, they were some of my favourite War Thunder videos. He was definitely my favourite content creator back then. And it was content like that that I set out to make. I also watched a lot of McChicken Bites, for those of you who know him, and I wanted to make that style of content and base this channel on that. I sort of stumbled my way accidentally into covering real life military history topics, like I have been a lot recently. But back when I started this channel, I couldn't have told you about how a Sabo shell worked, or the differences between an AIM-7 and an AIM-9 and how they track targets. None of that. I didn't know anything to do with that. It was only when I started talking about potential rebalancing for top tier vehicles, this is back when 9.7 was top tier, keep in mind, and because of the vehicles being classified, there was a lot of confusion and misinformation floating around about them, I made certain videos attempting to put some of that to rest and discuss how these vehicles could be adjusted under historical parameters to better fit in the game. Those videos were pretty popular for me at the time, and as I made them, I got more and more educated about the history and the facts behind these vehicles and discovered information that most people just didn't know or didn't understand. And now, I'm not saying that I was so smart and fixed everyone's misinformation by being that, no, I was just parroting information given to me by people who knew far better than I did and just needed a voice like my channel to help spread the information. Then I made the video on how tank armour and ammunition works in collaboration with Maximus, because I saw that he'd been playing War Thunder, I'd been talking about history. I thought we have a decent overlap of audiences, and while I could help him come into the War Thunder scene, collaborating with his channel could lend my technical history videos a wee bit more legitimacy. We could also together help educate the gaming audience that I had about the history behind the game they were playing, because many people on the forums were talking about balancing for top tier and spreading yet more misinformation. So we thought we could talk about why certain values and mechanics are the way that they are, and given how many War Thunder players are interested in that side of their game, it was great exposure for him too into the bargain. That overlap was perfect. Later on, I was talking about the combat ID panels of the M1 Abrams turret and saying I wish we had them in game, but I didn't know what they were for at the time, and as it turned out, not a lot of people in the War Thunder community did either. So I asked around, did some homework, and when I found out, I thought, what the hell, people who play War Thunder are interested in this, they're asking about it, I'll make a video just about that. It's easy and relevant content for me, and it's likely to get at least 10,000 views, right? And then it became my second highest viewed video of all time. The thing is, most of the people who saw that video weren't War Thunder players interested in the real life functionality behind what to them was just an aesthetic design. That's what I expected. Instead, I got a ton of viewers from channels like Red Effect and Maximus, who are interested in the historical information with no interest whatsoever in gaming. And I got a lot of requests to do videos like Maximus' style from that video, spotlighting different tanks the way he does, so I did one on the K2 Black Panther, the Type 10, just some of the vehicles I've been requested to talk about, just to test the waters. I did one on the US fighter designation scheme and the renaming that happened in 1962, because it was a topic that interested me, and I thought it might interest some other War Thunder players. We've got, say, the F-14, F-15, the F-16 and the F-18, but if you trace that line back down again, where does it start? I knew the F4 used to be called the F4H, and so I wanted to know if the F2H belonged in that same series. And it does. And then I realised that the FJ4 Fury was number 1 in that line. It was redesignated F1 Fury, then F2 Banshee, F3 Demon, F4 Phantom, and right up to the F15, F16, etc. And then I thought I had to cover that because I found it really cool. The video on the use of Fox 1, 2 and 3 I mainly wanted to make because I saw Fly thinking that you said Fox 1 when you launched one missile and Fox 2 when you launched your second, like you were keeping count. But I still made those videos as one-offs in addition to the standard gaming content I covered primarily for the War Thunder audience. But it took off on its own, pun intended. Eventually I realised that I could quit War Thunder, the game I'd built my channel around initially, and still do well on YouTube with this new content I'd found myself making. I didn't want to quit War Thunder of course, but at the time I was also getting pretty burned out on the game, so I thought, great, this content is big enough that I can make it half of the channel rather than just the occasional one-off. And they're actually getting more views than my War Thunder videos are anyway, so I'm able to take a bit of a break from playing War Thunder quite as regularly, only make perhaps one War Thunder video a week, and still be growing on YouTube, earning enough from it, etc. Every War Thunder content creator needs their breaks occasionally, including myself of course. But having cut down the amount of time I spent playing it for about a year now, I'm enjoying it much more again, and I want to make some new styles of videos on it, as well as going back to some of my old styles of War Thunder video I used to make. The thing is, these videos I want to make are completely unaffiliated with my Koala Explains content, nothing to do with the history behind the game, which I've also got new ideas for videos in that category to make. Because these videos are completely unrelated to each other though, they kind of belong in separate channels. I've actually talked in this series before about how covering too broad a spectrum of topics has made growth more difficult for me than it should have been, because the War Thunder audience, half the content they'd be getting notifications about they don't want to watch, so they don't subscribe, or if they do, they're not watching half of my uploads. And vice versa for the military history crowd, they don't want to subscribe to a gaming channel. So I have Koala Explains videos with 500,000 views and I gained about 6,000 subscribers from them. Not the best ratio there. And in the past, Yolande has suggested making a second channel for that specific reason. What I thought I'd do is further combine the two topics, specifically being not just a gaming channel who plays War Thunder, but a channel who looks at video games with a real-life historical background and how that game compares to the real deal. That's a marketable channel description right there. I also thought that when it came to the Koala Explained series that I could make it fit in with my channel more by featuring gameplay footage from a video game that features that vehicle as background footage during the video. I'd still feature real life footage where necessary, of course, to demonstrate specific points, but in a lot of the Koala Explains videos, it's just background footage that doesn't really apply to the commentary itself. It's just there to show the vehicle I'm talking about. And because of that, it's liable to copyright issues. Footage that is necessary to the point I'm making in the commentary, I can use under fair use policy, but if it's just filling the screen for the sake of it, I can be copyright claimed. Not, however, if that footage is my own footage, and if I'm featuring gameplay footage, I could go to the developer of that game and perhaps get them to sponsor that video. I could cover Armoured Warfare for the K2 Black Panther, DCS if I do one on the F-15 or Su-27, Cold Waters if I ever do a Koala Explains on a submarine. World of Warships might be willing to sponsor if I were to do, say, Koala Explains the Iowa-class battleship, or Daring-class destroyer, or how naval tactics worked in World War II, as well as using War Thunder footage when it applies. Say, Koala Explains the Centurion, the F-100 Super Sabre, or the Type 74. I did a video on the Bradley, for example, and I could have featured War Thunder footage in the Bradley for that video, only using real life footage when it's necessary and directly related to the commentary itself. And that way I'm getting potential sponsorships by marketing these games to the audiences that might be interested, as well as avoiding copyright issues, because I'm only using footage I have the rights to use. What you might not know is that a lot of the Koala Explains videos I don't actually earn any revenue for because they contain copyrighted content. That's why channels like Red Effect feature primarily a collection of still images, and it's why Patreon support, for example, is so important to this channel. Now, I very well may still do exactly that for the Koala Explains series, at least on occasion, but when it comes to talking about games like War Thunder from more the sense of what's the historical connection behind this, I realised that that's just Spookston's channel. Spookston has a series of videos, What If This Vehicle in War Thunder Were Historically Accurate, where he talks about things like Tigers breaking down, or the Abrams using lots of fuel and needing its filters cleaned in the desert, stuff like that. Not in the sense that he's suggesting that this game become entirely realistic, just saying, this is what it would be like if it were. Really fantastic videos. I'm so annoyed that I didn't come up with that myself. And his channel is doing amazingly, as it deserves to be. I actually really enjoy his content. But I also want to cover War Thunder topics like, well, the US fighter line rework, or I have a video series I'm planning to make going over different War Thunder maps. You might remember the video I made on stock tanks where I talked about engagement lanes, and somebody asked if I would show some images of those engagement lanes I was talking about visually. What I want to do is kind of do a map analysis for each ground forces map one by one, and I can talk about those engagement lanes and show some pictures of them in those videos. But those are nothing to do with real life history, and that's just one of the War Thunder video series I want to make eventually. On the other hand, there are two series in the category of military history content that I want to start making. One is basically a miniaturized version of Koala Explains, just on tanks or on aircraft, and it'll be like a 90-second review, so everything you need to know condensed down into a 90-second segment on the tank itself. Let's say, alongside my Koala Explains the Type 10, I could do a video, everything you need to know about the Type 10 tank in 90 seconds, and just condense the most important facts and historical information into a bite-sized chunk, save Koala Explains for the more rambly, more in-depth, detailed content. The other series I want to make on that channel when it comes, I'm not sure I want to talk about just yet, but it would be called Your Favourite Tank Sucks. And think about it like my CinemaSin spoof videos for War Thunder updates. Similar to that, but for real-life tanks. So instead of trying to find the link between my gaming and historical content, which, as I said, Spookston's already got a handle on, and I'm not about to cut in on his brand. I'm splitting apart both genres, and as such we're eventually, not right now, but soon enough, going to be starting a second channel to help keep them apart. That way I can cover both genres properly. Then I can also do, on occasion, some crossover type videos that help brand both separate channels as my content rather than just content. That's something that's very important to me. The bottom line of all of this is that in a couple months' time there will be a second channel popping up, and I will be removing the current Koala Explains videos from this channel and transitioning them, probably with a wee bit of editing, over there. When that happens, I will be all over it, advertising it, shouting it out in regular videos. And I'm also not sure what we're going to do with this series. It may stop completely unless you lads specifically want to keep it around. And then it's kind of up to you which of the two channels it ends up on. It has been really difficult trying to work out whether or not to split the two up. I've been tossing with this decision for quite a long time. It's obviously much easier for me to just have the one channel and consolidate everything down. But if I want this to be my career, then I have to start treating it like a business, and this is the best business decision for my brand at this time. So expect that before Christmas, and I will be letting you lads know far more about that a wee bit closer to when it kicks off. There's also another business type project that'll be happening to do with that as well, but I think we'll leave that for next month's episode. This one's getting long enough already. Spoiler alert, for military channels everywhere, it could be a game changer. Anyway, that's going to do us for this episode. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope to see you on our live stream this weekend. Thanks for watching, and as always, please remember, keep a whiskey to hand, keep your kilt on, and I'll catch you next time.